So when it comes to cannabis, of course, the method of administration, certainly matters, right? Burning, right, vaporizes the cannabinoids. It also produces a lot of, tars and other carcinogenic compounds, including formaldehyde, things that can be damaging to the lungs and will be damaging to the lungs, actually. It allows for, rapid delivery to the vasculature in the lungs along with oxygen. So that's now oxygenated blood, with all those cannabinoids, and terpenes and everything else racing its way to the heart and then up through the aorta into the carotids and, basically into the brain. So very rapid delivery, basically, of the cannabinoid to the brain. It's the most rapid, delivery, that's possible. And then, it can also, of course, be consumed orally. It can be eaten. There are all sorts of edibles, that are available. The thing about oral administration, of course, is that it's slower. It's significantly more variable because there's, degradation on the way, including, once it gets into, the vasculature, it goes into hepatic circulation, right? Circulation directly into the liver, where there can be, what they call the first pass effect and, significant degradation, some of the compounds, that are in the drug. So it's a slower rise, right? It is a more variable sort of rise. You can't titrate as effectively as you might try when you actually have, very rapid administration, to the targets of drug action. People can get in some trouble with edibles, right? They can end up consuming too much, and not really realizing it until it, starts to reach and starts to influence, an hour or so later. And actually, there's a famous, columnist in the New York Times named Maureen Dowd, who, when Colorado, legalized, cannabis for recreational purposes, flew to Colorado, and it was like 2014, got a candy bar, and basically proceeded in her hotel room to consume the entire candy bar, and it was supposed to have been cut into 16 different individual doses. She writes actually at one point, I strained to remember where I was or even what I was wearing, touching my green corduroy jeans and staring at the exposed brick wall. As my paranoia deepened, I became convinced that I had died and nobody was telling me. This was actually back in 2013. What's interesting, though, is that, a week later, she's writing a column for the New York Times about this. She'd overdosed on opioids. She'd be dead. So this is not, this drug is going to have, a higher, concentration, can have some pretty significant effects, which is one of the risks, that comes with edible consumption, as opposed to sort of the more rapid administration, via inhalation.